one of the funny things that I've learned through this whole reciprocity project. So, the ultimate goal back in the day was to create some sort of system that allowed us to. So, this was really sort of research focused back in the day. It still kind of is. It still really is. And the ultimate goal was to create some sort of system that can allow us to get feedback on our work very quickly. And it was, me thinking about how can I make my work easier and how can I be more productive. I'm an engineer. That's my undergrad was in engineering, and then I went and did business school and did a PhD in strategy. And I realized that there's a lot of people that were doing things kind of inefficiently, myself included, because there was no tools or anything like that helped us to work a lot more efficiently. And I was like, well, I could do that. I can make this so much more easier. So here's the great irony with this now. It evolved over time. That was kind of like the little narrow focus, but it evolved with me thinking about, this could be a lot bigger, and I could sort of make this a lot more useful to more people. Because the reason why I needed to do that was like, I spent a fortune, or my family spent a fortune. It's so built because of intellectual property issues with the institution that I'm currently working with or working at, and that's the real trouble. And I think, I hate to say it, but universities in general hold back a lot of innovation in invention because of these intellectual property issues. And so people are unwilling to do anything that's innovative because you're going to run into all sorts of issues. So, long story short, tried to, work through this, get the university involved. It did not work out. That fell apart. So I had to sole build this and invest in it myself, because I was like, this is a great idea. I think that this is going to matter. And then I started, built this thing, and because it's super hard to do anything when it's just yourself, I was like, well, crap, this is not getting any growth. There's nothing happening. Growth it doesn't even show up on the internet. Like, you can search for it all you want. It's not going to show up unless you search exactly reciprocity and the right spelling and all that, with the three. So everything was like, it just was not working out. So I had to expand it, and tackle a bigger thing. And when I expanded it, what I realized, expanded what I was doing, I thought I'd get traffic right away on the internet. I was so foolish. I thought, once you put something up, that everybody would sort of could see it. But I was like, that's not how the internet works at all. The way that the internet works is through, web links and legitimacy from other websites. And so if you don't have any players that are helping you, good luck. And so I had to sort of expand it, and it became a bigger thing. And then as I started doing this, I realized, this is like a good thing anyways, because it allows me to record a lot of thoughts, a lot of ideas, the project itself, right? Because now I'm doing this on podcast, I'm doing a lot of YouTube videos and all that kind of stuff, and it's allowing me to be, if you sort of look at, productivity as actually doing stuff and having impact in this world, it's freaking huge. It's bizarre with how much that this improves, my quote unquote productivity. But the irony is that it is, working against, it makes me feel like, I don't think it actually is that much, but it makes me feel that it's working against, writing papers and things like that. And the ultimate goal is to actually do a better job of it, and actually write better papers than, because I struggle with writing, and I was like, well, man, I could do this. It's just a great irony when I'm thinking about this and how bizarro this actually has worked out. And in fact, the irony is I'm like spectacularly more productive because I'm doing this, because as I'm doing different tasks, doing different things, I'm sort of documenting it, and I've maxed out everything basically, from the very moment I get up. I'm sort of sending messages and stuff to encourage you to, in my commute, maxed out with everything, and at night, doing stuff to grow the platform. Absolutely maxed out with my capabilities or abilities to, to be productive. And yet I still don't feel productive. Like that's the irony with this all. This was all started with, and I don't know if there's any problem like that. I don't think that there is like any research paper that sort of talks about this. And it would be interesting actually if there's anybody that's willing to help write this with me. I don't know what the world is going to be, whoever reads this and stuff. Somebody's probably going to steal this idea, but whatever. So like I'm maximizing my productivity completely. And yet it's still, it doesn't feel like that, because it feels like it's sort of pulling at it, at other things. And, B, it's I don't know what I was going to say with that. Like, but it feels like it's sort of pulling away and making me less productive and all that kind of stuff. And in reality, I'm having an enormous impact. And that's the great irony, is that, especially academics, that's what we're looking for, is impact. And, how much are you, how many lives are you basically impacting over this? And the way that we sort of count things is bizarre, with how we actually count things, and which is, I think that's ultimately what's going on, is that the way that we actually count things in academia and research, in the university system is sort of counterintuitive. And this is not like a complaint or anything. Well, it kind of is, but it's more of like, what are we doing here, right? Like, we've got to prioritize what we're doing and realize that you got to measure and you got to look at productivity is a load of horse manure. I've said that before in this podcast, the sort of notion of that. It's really more of like demonstrating. It's more for other people to demonstrate, like, look how wonderful we are and all that kind of stuff, right? Like, that's what you're talking about. It's a status game. But what you have to talk about and have to think about is that you're creating, sometimes when you do things to be more productive and to do things that are right, it might not have the impact that you think it's going to, and it's gonna like be unusual in a sense. So I'm skirting around this. I'm not publishing papers, but I don't think I would have anyways. I would have had a real struggle with that anyways. And yet I'm sort of thinking about this as like a distraction, and it's unhelpful. And the reason why I couldn't, paper publishing, it's a game. Anybody that sort of realizes it, the whole research game is a real game where there's like a lot of network effects, like network being like, if you write with certain people, it's easier to get in, and all of those kind of things really do matter. And there's that whole game of it, which I'm never good at. I'm never going to be good at, because that's just not really who I am, or it's just not like part of me. Maybe it'll change in 20 years. I don't know. I should never say never, but that part of it it's elusive, and it's super hard to break into it. And what you have to realize is that all of that game is totally different than the game of what they're really saying. So they might say, like, they being not like, my institution or, any one particular person or whatever. What I'm talking about is like academia in general, right? Like there's a whole game behind it, like, thousands of people. And the idea of like publishing and doing research and being productive and all that kind of stuff is there's a game that is different than what the actual motions and things actually are. And we need to be a lot more upfront about that. We need to be like, oh, this is a lot different. And so it's not just about working. And that should be clear, right? Like there's actually old research on this. Selznick from many years ago, from the 1950s, was talking about this in sociology. So we have to be like clear that the world itself is a lot different than, actually doing the work, and we need to be absolutely upfront with that. So I wanted to say, take care, and have a good one. All right. We will see you on the next one.